Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Hanuman. Welcome to this sixth session of Shri Hanuman Chalisa. We start with Ishwar Krupa and Guru Prarthana. Guru Ma is our Guruji who teaches us, and I'm still a learner on this path. We start with a Prarthana. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishamahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So this is from a book by Sri Pavan Kumar Mishra, which is a journey from selfie to the self, Hanuman. So we start with the 23rd shloka. आपन तेज संहारो आपे तीनों लोक हांकते कापे. So here it says आपन तेज, your effulgence or your तेज, प्रकाश, only you can control. तेज प्रकाश स्वरूप जो है उनका भगवान का स्वरूप, only he can control. तीनों लोक हांकते कापे, all the three lokas tremble with your name, right? So hum is the sound of exhalation of Shri Hanuman. तीनों lok means on a individual level the three states are the sthula, sukshma and the karan sharira. In avastha, if we say the three parts of the day that we live in is the jagrat avastha, the swapna avastha and the sushupti avastha. But at a samasti level or a cosmic level, the three lokas are the Prithvi, the upper loka or the heaven, the other lokas, and the lower lokas including the Patal loka. So these are the Tino loka. And there is this autonomic nervous system in our body which controls a balance, which activates the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, right? Now, the parasympathetic nervous system, when it is activated, it causes relaxation of the mind and it improves the cardiac, digestive and psychological disorders, etc. Whereas the sympathetic nervous system, when it is activated, it releases several stress hormones like adrenaline, noradrenaline, and is activated when there is a stress to the body. So it gives rise to what is called as a flight or a fright response. And this is activated even not just by physical activity, but even by a lot of stress, and the continuous mind activity can activate the sympathetic nervous system. Whereas the parasympathetic nervous system, which works in opposition to the sympathetic system, it is activated in sleep, relaxation and meditation. And that's why it is important to achieve this balance between the sympathetic and the parasympathetic systems. Even breath awareness, pranayama and respiratory exercises does activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And the maintenance between the two is very important to achieve happiness or sukha. And during the day, when the sympathetic system is more active because our mind and our bodies are more active, we need to find time to rewind or re-energize ourselves, taking short breaks from the work, relaxing, taking a short, maybe a nap in the afternoon, doing some breath awareness, deep breathing, or taking a short nap or meditation sessions during the daytime. So that helps us to rewind and re-energize during the day. Hum is the sound or the humming sound, which is the Hanuman mantra, which is the mantra of exhalation. But ha as a word, it is in all languages denotes a good, kind of a greeting. Hello in English, hi in America, hi in Africa, hola in Spanish, habari in Swahili, ni hao in Chinese, and Ohio in Japan. So all these words have this ha alphabet in its greeting. Teja. So Teja is energy, and the recent science also tells us that the energy and matter are interchangeable, which is what our shastras or our scriptures have been telling us for years, that everything is one. The energy and matter is interchangeable. And these energy fields in the universe, the recent squid cameras are even able to picture these energy fields in the universe. Surya, Agni, that also gives rise to Teja. Our Atma Swarup is also considered to be a Teja Prakasha, Swaprakasha, and that Bhana or the Chitta that we can feel is because of this Atma Swarupa Prakasha of the Atma Swarupa. Oneness, the vision which is beyond the name and the form, is something that we can achieve with this energy. And in the 13th Adhyaya, Bhagavad Gita, Lord tells us that who can see this oneness beyond all the different names and forms is the real vision. And this is what he says, Ya Pasyati Sa Pashyati, means that you see this way, it is the real vision. And this real vision we can see only by the God's grace. The next shloka is Bhuta Pisach Nikat Nahi Aave, Mahabir Jab Naam Sunave. Bhuta Pisacha. So these are the ghosts. When they hear the name of Rama, Hanuman, Omkara, these ghosts will never come close to the seeker. Mahabira Jab Naam Sunave. When courageous person, Mahabira, Hanuman is of course the most courageous person, his name is spoken. So courageous speaker speaks the name of Hanuman, that is another meaning. If there is a courageous seeker who speaks the name of Hanuman, then Bhuta Pishacha will never come near the seeker. So Bhut are the ghosts or the evil spirits because of the unnatural death. Pisach is a spirit which eat the raw meat. And Bhut also means past. So in the past we remember a lot of words about what people have told us. And this gives rise to our anxieties, our behaviors, our thoughts, our pain and disturbances. So a lot of things are related to our past, our childhood. But this can be avoided by Nama Smaran, continuous chanting of the Ram Nama or any Nama Smarana. Similarly, Bhut also means Mahabhuta or the Pancha Mahabhuta, Akash, Vayu, Agni, Prithvi, Jala. So all these are the Panch Mahabhuta through which the Jagata, Sukshma, the Sthula Jagata and the entire Sukshma Jagata, the Sharira, Mana, Indriya, everything is made. And any imbalance on these Mahabhuta can cause natural disasters or climate change. Pisacha are considered to be fire bodies because of anger, and because this anger comes up when there is unfulfilled desires of the future. So Pishach stands for these unfulfilled desires of the future. And the anxieties of the past, that is the Bhuta and Pisacha, unfulfilled desires of the future, are to be avoided. And for seekers it is very important for us to stay in the now. And many of the issues happen because of these kind of attributes in ourselves, which gives rise to violence and relationship issues, like something like anger bodies. So this causes a lot of problems in our life. So what we need is awareness between the inhalation, the exhalation. This is a razor sharp area where there is a changing of time, pace. We have to catch the moment and remain in the now. And for this we have to control our mind and be aware of our breath and continuously do Nama Smarana or the Jap. पुरुषार्थ प्रारब्ध नाम, भगवान का नाम जो है, that protects against our devils, and only with the grace of the God we can achieve all our goals. So today the Bhuta Pisacha stands for disembodied bodies, and this disembodied body we see every day, day in and out in the virtual world. We see videos, movies, TV, mobile, internet, social media. All these virtual images that we see are disembodied bodies, and they can also be considered Bhut Pisach of today. And they are the ones which control our behavior, and they are the ones which change our habits and make us very, very lazy. Lifestyle is disturbed, and that has caused many lifestyle disorders. So our lifestyles have become quite sedentary, and this has given rise to many, many lifestyle disorders. There are a lot of people who are addicted to video games, mobile, social media in today's world, in the virtual. And our sedentary lifestyle has given rise to many, many digestive problems like indigestion, irritable bowel, acidity, etc. We see large number of such patients. And that is why it suggests that we should use our technologies judiciously with awareness and achieve a balance between this real world and the virtual world, especially for the seeker, for whom the time is limited and he has to utilize all his time for his sadhana or for his spiritual journey. So some kind of niyama or some kind of rules are very important, that we should use some timings for using this virtual world. Before sleep we should not use this virtual images, and before sleep, because that can disturb our sleep. And we should always we should not use these during our exercises, and we should use it very judiciously. So, and we should use it for our own progress. These new technologies have helped us to listen to Vedanta from our Guruji, to listen to Satsanga. YouTube, internet has helped us to read, learn. A lot of new learning can happen by Satvanchana, Satsanga. So a lot of these today's technologies can be used for our own self progress. The 25th shloka tells us, Nasai roga hare sab pira, japata nirantara hanumat bira. So it says all the diseases and the pain will vanquished when we constantly japa, nirantara. Nirantara japa means constantly have a nam smarana of Hanuman, who is a courageous person. So roga, all the diseases, any mantra or Hanumana japa, it could be anything, and this can give rise to, and today we know that many of the causes of diseases are psychosomatic in nature. It was Vagabhatta who many centuries ago in Ayurveda, in this treatise called Ashtanga Hridayam, told us that most of the diseases are caused by raga, dvesha, conditioning of our mind, which gives rise to our likes, dislikes, and our labeling attitude, which tells us that this is good, this is not so good, this is bad. That is our main problem. So whatever is good, we try to go towards it. Whatever is bad, we try to go away from it. So this gives rise to a lot of attachments, anger, greed, jealousy, obsession, incompleteness, which gives rise to a lot of other pain and miseries. So all these are because of our raga, dvesha, and this is how the diseases happen. And this requires a lot of our samajhdari, vivek, thinking about our needs, what our desires, whether they are essential. We should not get into this rat race, and we should be contented. We should have some kind of a santosh, a contentment. Only then we can, take care of these, prevent these diseases. So this kind of impediments, obstacles for the seeker, diseases can become this kind of obstacle for the seeker. And that's why it's very important to understand how we can keep our mind quiet, which can avoid a lot of diseases and can help us to go on our spiritual journey. Pida and japa nirantara, pancha klesha. Pida is all these pains and miseries. But continuing chanting japa nirantara is the main solution to all these problems. Mana indriya sanyama is also very important. And japa is the best sadhana for us because it's always with us. You don't need anything else. Anytime you can do it, and that it does not involve any violence. Any other prayer form, any other lighting, even a candle or an agarbatti or a candlestick can give rise to some kind of a violence, but not in japa. But sometimes, what happens is that when we are sitting in meditation, then a lot of thoughts start coming in dhyana. Then one can start doing japa, so that nama smarana, and then once we are, steadfast in this, then we can go back to dhyana. So this kind of cycles also we can do. And from nirantar japa, we have to come to a stage of ajapa. Ajapa is a stage, ajapa japa, or ajapa is a stage where, there is unconsciously we do this japa, and we are not actively conscious about this. And Kabir in one of his doha says that he is doing Rama japa, but then finally he comes to a stage where Rama mujhe jape, मैं करूँ विश्राम, that I take rest and Ram he does this japa for me. In the Kali Yuga, Nama Japa or Nama Smarana is the best sadhana to obtain self-attainment. In my own life, I have seen my grandmother who could do this Nama Smarana on every breath of her life, till she breathed last. She had continuously a mantra on her mind. And it is known that we breathe about 21,600 times a day. So if we do a mantra jap on each of our breath, then we can do 21,600 mantras in a day. So that should be the goal for the sadhak. Total acceptance, again, surrender to the Lord, contentment gives rise to inner peace, gratitude to the Almighty, and unbroken chanting, the grace of Rama and Hanumana can lead us to our goals. Sankat te Hanuman chudave, Manakram vachana dhyana ko lave. So it says Hanuman takes away all the difficulties of the seeker and mana krama vachana dhyana jo lave. When the seeker brings a mindfulness in his thoughts, actions and speech. So here also it tells us that purushartha, seekers' efforts are very very important. Only then Hanuman will take away a lot of difficulties. So everything is conditional. Without putting in efforts, we cannot say that Hanuman will take away all my difficulties. No, that is not the spiritual journey. In spiritual journey, the seeker has to do a lot. He has to bring his mind, thoughts and action into the same state. Then only he can think that Hanuman will take away all the difficulties. So how much, whether Purushartha or Prabhu Krupa is important. If you multiply 0 by infinite, the answer is still 0. So if our efforts is 0 and we get infinite grace of the Lord, if we multiply this, we still do not achieve any meaningful result. The answer is 0. But if we even have a very minuscule effort, 0.000000001 multiplied by infinite grace of the Lord, the result is infinite. So any smallest digiter which is multiplied by infinite remains infinite. This is called the domino effect, where a small effort gives rise to infinite grace of the Lord. Everyone has to do their efforts. Even the fastest lion in the Saharan desert, in the morning he has to wake up and he has to run faster than the slowest deer to catch the deer, right? So that's how in this nature everybody has to put in their efforts. But mana krama vachana, we have to bring kind of a dhyana into this. So that means that we have to get oneness in the thought, speech and action. And this integrity, simplicity or arjavam, which Lord Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita in the shloka 16, the first shloka, and the Daivi Sampatti, he says saralta and arjavam is a very important part of life. So in the mind, there can be the seeing mind and the doing mind. Seeing mind is when our thoughts come in, we are observing these thoughts. This witness, this sakshi is a seeing mind. And when we are doing in action, then also we are doing mind. Of course, the mind is one. It is not, there are no two different parts. But these are the two different stages of the mind. So in both the areas, we must be quite one. Our speech must be soft, limited, with nice words. We should think before speaking. And we must let go of the results of the action, the karma phala, vairagya. We should not be attached too much to the karma phala. And this can only be done by constant practice or abhyasa, by being mindful in each moment. And then this is this theory of flow, which tells us that when we become one in mind and action, we are in a stage of flow. So mind body, there is a very strong connection between the mind and the body, because when there is a chronic stress, even acute stress, neuropeptides are secreted in the hypothalamus underneath the pituitary, and this affects the entire body, especially the digestive and the immune system. So chronic stress is a big problem for most of these digestive disturbances, the gas and the other problems, and the CNS also. So introspection is very important. Every time we must present in the now and witness our sakshi and be wakeful awareness during the day, so that we get oneness in our thoughts, actions and words, and conscious response to all actions, not being reactive. Breath mantra and mantra awareness is also very important part. So in the sadhana, indriya sanyam, mana sanyam, coming to antakarana shuddhi, only then we can achieve the atma gnana moksha, which is possible. The 27th shloka tells us, Samapara Rama tapasvi raja, Tinake kaja sakala tum saja. Means the kingdom of our body, Lord Rama is the tapasvi king, and all our desires, if they are fulfilled, then of course that is also only possible when this condition is met. So here also it tells us that Purushartha is important. Here it talks about tapasvi raja, tapa. Tapa means heat or austerities that we do in our worldly life. This is a preparation to accept some kind of difficulty on our own by choice. This could be worldly or spiritual. And tapa, also the first sloka of Ramayana starts here. In the Yoga Sutra also, japa, swadhyaya and tapa, just like 25, 26 and 27 shloka has been. And here the surrender of Sri Rama is very important. Tapa is essentially a discipline, and which is done by choice. So for example, we do a lot of fasting on Agyarasha or Shravan Mahina. All these is kind of a tapa. Consciously we deny some kind of worldly dependence, focus our energies for inner development. That is another definition of tapa. But this tapa should not be done for fulfilling our desires, but it should be done for offering to the Lord. So success in outer world, concentrated efforts of 10,000 hours. Malcolm Gladwell was author of the Goliath and there's the book Man and the Goliath, in which he says that if you put in 10,000 hours of concentrated efforts, you can become successful and learn, master a skill, either in the worldly or in the spiritual realms. But the two things that are important for success is intense focus on the goal and continuous our action without, and restraint, not suppression, with discipline. So this restraint is very important. And today we always go for what is called as a personal freedom rather than restraint. Everybody wants to be free, freedom from everything. They just want to do whatever they like, do whatever they don't want to do, whatever they dislike. But this is called swachhanda, and this is not according to the dharma. In the Indian philosophy, it is said that you must behave within your dharma. So because today in the most of the Western world, the rate of divorces, violence has increased. Even in India, this is going up. And that's why it is important that we must go back to our roots, where mind control, the tapa, indriya, sanyam used to be very, very important. And then through this sanyama, when we achieve, independence, that independence is called swatantrata, where this is initially it is prayatna purvaka for a seeker, finally for a gnani, it becomes more of a sahaja, and he doesn't have to make much efforts to achieve this. So tapa can also be considered like a gap or a pause in between the stimulus and the response. It can be considered as a gap or a pause in between one thought and the another. It could be considered like a gap between the inspiration and the expiration, gap between the thought and the action, gap between the stimulus and the reaction, and this can only be, this journey can be taken by mindfulness or being aware in this gap. And this can help us in lot of areas, health, wealth, relationships, etc. And this helps also us to dock with the universal consciousness in the spiritual realms. So finally we come to the last shloka. Aur manorath ko koi lave, soi amit jeevan phal pave. Aur manorath koi lave, one who brings control over the desires or the wishes, soi amit jeevan phal pave. We can achieve completeness or abundance in life only when this is met. So manoratha means desires. Mana ratha, mind, chariot. Desires, as we fulfill, they come more and more, and they are mostly insatiable. They never are fulfilled. Just like putting in ghee into the fire, which will increase the agni or the fire, or taking out a tissue from a paper box. When the next tissue comes in line. So this is the nature of a karma, desire. Whenever we put in one or try to fulfill one, more and more come up. So desire is the root cause of sufferings, and this has been amply, clearly described in our scriptures. Even Lord Buddha described this in Buddhism, that desires is the root cause of all sufferings. And in English, when we say wish, it is desires. When we say wish, it is poison in Hindi. And that's why desires can also be considered like a poison. And we can use this energy for self-realization. That's a very good news. So controlling our desires requires viveka in our mind. We must be mindful. We must have sattvic desires initially from rajasic and tamasic. Contentment, some kind of a santosh, which is important for getting sukha. But it is not mind stagnation, but a maturity of the mind with an attitude that enough is enough. I have already achieved enough in my life. And every action comes with its own attachment. So we must look at this other aspect, and then we should work from detachment from karma phala and getting to surrender to the Lord, where there is a lot of gratitude and faith in the Lord. So true happiness is the happiness which is directly proportional to possessions and inversely proportional to desires. Desires have to be reduced to increase the happiness, because happiness is inversely proportional to the desires. When the desires become zero, the happiness will become infinite. And that's what our spiritual goal is all about. And infinite happiness is our own self. Happiness can also be described as gratitude over greed. So the more the greed, the less the happiness. The less the greed, the more the happiness. So with this, we come to the end of the sixth session of Sri Hanuman Chalisa. Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Hanuman.